I've been on this, what I've been referring to with my wife, adventure for about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more. I think it started towards the middle end of January, and now, as I'm recording this, it is the 12th of March. So somewhere between, because I don't remember the exact start date, 6 and 7 weeks. Catholic Christianity adventure. We called ourselves Christian for, I don't know, half decade or so, 5 odd more years. Grew up Christian, both of us, kind of. Me more than her. Um, and stepped away from it. Had a lot of questions about, oh, how do I know that this is the correct religion? I'm only this because it's what I was born into. How do I know which of these denominations is correct? I've seen the Pentecostal, charismatic kind of thing, filled with the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, laughing uncontrollably, etc. And then I've seen the more Baptist side of things, a little bit more traditional hymns, pews, what have you. How is this all the same thing? How is this all Christianity? And then having inspiration to look into Catholicism from a purely research academic perspective for something that I was curious about led to realizing there has been persecution of the Catholic Church to a degree in this country to a degree that I had no idea about. Like, truly, it was at the absolute height of things almost exactly 100 years ago, as of right now, this year. Right in the middle of the 20s would have been the absolute height of attacks on the Catholic Church. And I didn't know that. And not from atheists, not from Buddhists, not from Muslims, from Protestants. Like, killing and hanging, lynchings and burning. And we went and talked to a priest, and he grew up in Indiana, which was the stronghold, the highest population of KKK members of anywhere in the United States in the 20s. And his grandfather, who was also a priest, had an effigy of him burnt out on in front of the church that he preached at. That's interesting. That was all news to me, that the Catholic Church had gone through such a thing. So that started a lot of questioning, and then I was looking into the Catholic Church, like I said, from a purely curious academic research kind of perspective. But then it made me start to wonder about my belief, and if I'm calling myself Christian and all I'm really doing to practice that is praying before meals, that's basically it. Can I really call myself a Christian? I'm kind of a card carrying member, but I never go to the club. I never do anything. It's like having a membership to a gym, but then you never do anything with it. Yeah, oh yeah, I've got a gym membership to LA Fitness. Okay. Do you ever go? No. What do? I take my card out every now and then, and I look at it and put it back in my wallet. Okay. It doesn't really seem like you're a member. I mean, you are, I guess, technically, but if you're not doing anything, then how can you really claim to be a gym goer? And I feel like this meme that I threw together is exactly where I'm at. I'm the midwit here, and not that I ever cite Reddit posts, really. I guess I probably have, and looking at different things. But anyhow, I feel like there are people that are dumber than me that just go, look, God exists. That don't really need much more than that. That's it. There we go. I'm good. We're set. I live my life as though God exists, and I try be a good person God exists. Okay. And then there's people that are clearly extremely intelligent that believe in God. And there's plenty of people that don't. But I feel like I'm right here in the middle, that I just keep on questioning and going, no, well, what about this and what about that and this and that? And it's not so much that I'm questioning the existence of God. I do think that even viewed through a rational lens, there is no question in my mind that something that I choose to refer to as God exists. I was talking about this a little bit. Well, I've talked about it a lot with my wife, but in a specific instance, I was talking about the whole thought of a tree falling in the forest, and if there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, let's use that and run with it. Let's say that, just a parallel, an analogy here, that the experience of hearing, the qualia, I believe, is qualia, like your different senses, the sense of smell and taste and sight, etc. All those, I believe, are referred to as collectively qualia. So the sense of hearing is required to hear that tree fall. That's just a given. To experience the sound of a tree falling, there has to be the existence of hearing. It's for the sake of this argument, I can hear myself and other people trying to pull up various counters and devil's advocate. Well, a deaf person could still feel the vibration. We're not talking about that. We're talking about hearing. That's a pretty simple statement. For the experience of hearing that tree fall, hearing has to be present. And it has to exist before that tree falls. So let's use that as though the experience of hearing itself, is God. He's got to be there, or it has to be there. The hearing has to exist before the tree falls to hear the tree fall. And here's where it kind of falls apart a little bit, because then you could say, well, then the hearing doesn't have to exist for beyond that tree falling. All right, okay. I think you get my point. And the whole reason I even got on this train of thought is because in the Baltimore Catechism number 4, it talks about man being made in the likeness of God. And every time I have heard that in the past, I don't know that I've ever heard it any other way than our physical selves, our bodies being made in the image of God. But this catechism makes the claim that that is not quite right. In fact, man is composed of two distinct parts, our bodies and our souls. I think most people would agree and understand, maybe I'm mistaken, I certainly view this to be accurate, that I am not my body. I don't know how much of my body I can lose before I go away, but I think a lot of people have done the thought experiment of, oh, am I still me if I have my arms removed and I'm just a torso and I've got no arms and I've got no legs? Those people exist in the world. Have their personalities changed? Well, to some degree, because the person that used to be a mountain biker who no longer has arms and legs, or is a paraplegic, so he no longer has arms or use of his arms or legs, might not have quite the same personality, in the sense that he can't mountain bike anymore, but I would imagine, many cases like that, the person, when you talk to him, still gets upset at the same things, many of the same things, still enjoys the same kind of movies, still likes the same kind of music. I don't think that if one day you're walking down the street, you're a whole body in person, and you're going about your day, and you really like classical music, and then the next week you've been shipped off overseas because you were part of a branch of the military, and you stepped on an IED, and 3 of your limbs blown off, and all you've got is a limited use of one arm. I don't think usually suddenly, like, I can't stand classical music. All I want to listen to is Disney soundtrack now. I know there are cases where people get conked in the head and it changes them, and people that couldn't speak a language suddenly can, or they didn't know anything about playing an instrument and then suddenly they do. Yes, apparently those cases exist, but I think they're few and far between, and that's not even what I'm talking about. So in the Catechism, it says that man is made in the likeness of God, and it's more so our souls that are in the likeness of God. And then that made me think of the whole way that Jordan Peterson, and certainly others, but he's the one that I'm most aware of, that looks at Christianity through a rational lens. And it made me think, and this is tying back to that whole idea that I shared a little bit ago about the sound, and the experience of hearing has to be there, it has to be present before the tree falls in the forest to hear the tree fall in the forest. And it made me think of consciousness, the consciousness that exists within all peoples. There's different degrees of it. And it made me think about animals, because there's something else in the Catechism talking about animals, and if you teach an animal something, it can't go on and teach other animals the same thing. There might be some outlier cases of that, sure, but animals in nature aren't getting progressively more advanced. They aren't doing things like going from steam engines to cars to electric cars to ships and boats, and like the transformation that the world has seen in the last 100 years is astounding. If you look at Tokyo even 50 years ago, it looks drastically different from Tokyo today. Look at Tokyo in 1940, and not even 100 years later, look at it. Look at Tokyo now. It is one of the most widely populated cities, if not the most populous cities in the entire world. Technological wonders every way that you spin your head. Lights and gizmos and gadgets, a robot cafe, all kinds of stuff. And many of the skills, if not all of the skills, that it took to build Tokyo to what it is today can be passed down. Animals aren't doing anything like that. Animals aren't building Tokyos. The speckled wood sparrow isn't 6 generations ago building nests out of twigs and leaves and grass, and then now has neon signs and lights and a recliner and a TV and a PlayStation 5 in there. The birds aren't doing that. There might be subtle differences, little changes here and there depending on where climate is, and you might go, oh well, this one builds with pine leaves because it's in the pine near a pine forest, and this one builds with maple leaves because it's near the okay. Yeah, good. Wow, you're not winning that argument. If you don't see what I'm saying, I don't know how to help you. And so, to bring this full circle, there is some existence of a thread, consciousness that is in all people. And I'm not sure how the first peoples went from being whatever they were to where we are now in advanced, and well, we're advanced in some ways, and you could look at other things and go, we've devolved, and we're no longer as advanced as we were in these respects. Okay, all right, whatever. We could have that conversation if you wanted. But what's undeniable is there has been change. Humanity has changed. If you look back 100 years, we look different. Like the way we dress, the way we get around. Go back another 100 years or 5,000 years. Not 5,000, but like 500 years. Go back 1,500 years. Things change. Humanity changes. But there are some things that don't change. For example, I'm pretty sure that throughout most time of consciousness existing, people would agree. I could be totally wrong here, but I would say that. Well, let me reword this. It seems to me that the societies that have sustained the longest, the ones that have the highest likelihood of continuation, are ones that have certain common themes, such as not raping and pillaging at will and murdering anyone that you want for whatever reason that you want. There needs to be some guidelines. And somebody might go, yeah, but that doesn't require God. What if that is God? What if the existence of, whether you want to call it God or you just want to call it human goodness, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of besides my point. There is something that helps direct our actions. And there is something that has called men, and I don't mean that specifically males, I just mean humanity, peoples, the race of mankind, to higher things, to higher ideals. There are works of art and literature and sculptures and paintings that are inarguably more complex, more beautiful. We don't even, I'm not even going to entertain the whole beauty is subjective thing. Like, no. Maybe in the details, but not in the full scope. You can't tell me that a pile of rocks is as impressive and beautiful as a cathedral, or Raphael's Pieta is the same as the whole unmade bed art piece or something. Like, no, it's not. Mm-mm. And if you think it is, I don't even know how to talk to you. Like, I don't know. Let me pull up what I'm talking about. Okay, I need to find a big one. Let's see, size, large, and then called my bed. All right, tools. Where's large? Size large. Okay, you cannot tell me that this unmade bed with the junk here. Can I open image, new tab? Whoop. This thing got the bottles of vodka. Apparently, when it was somewhere, I don't know, in London, a couple of guys got on here and, like, I don't know if they had sex or they just jumped on the bed or something. I don't know. They did something, then they drank the vodka, and people, they were vandalizing it, and people thought it was part of the whole thing, and they clapped like, "Oh wow, that's so good." You can't tell me that this is the same as, let's see here, sculpture, large. As this. I think he was 25, 23 when he did this. This is sculpted out of marble. Oh, it's the same thing. It's art. Art, man, look. Yeah, it's art is art is art is art. Art, 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 art. No, you're wrong. One of those calls people to something higher. It points to something higher. It shows what humanity is capable of, what true greatness can be, and the other is just, I don't know, a sad excuse for your depression or something. I don't know what that is. It's a mockery. It's not art. Maybe in the most broad sense it's art, but it should not be there shouldn't be a museum where those two things are shown side by side and be like, basically the same thing. It's just all in the eye of the beholder. Get out of here. Get out of here. The whole moral relativism is dumb. It's just dumb. It's immature. The idea that causing pain and suffering to other people and torturing them is just, it's fine. In the final analysis, it doesn't matter if you go through your life raping and killing and stealing and lying and betraying. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to anybody that has a modicum of intelligence clanking around in their head. It's why books like Dante's Inferno resonate and they last. That my bed thing will last forever long it does as an example of the absurdity, not for the staying power. People aren't making pilgrimages to go and see that. But people have been going to see the Pieta, that particular one. I guess Pieta just means like Mary and her son, for ages. And where I'm at is, and I said this to my wife this morning, is I feel like it's a battle of pride and humility that I'm dealing with right now. On the one hand, I think I don't need Christianity. I don't need the form and structure of the Catholic Church, or any church for that matter. I don't need that. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing. There's electricity. I've got a mic. This is a nice mic. Things are going well enough for me. I don't think that Elon Musk is religious in any sense of the word. Things are going pretty well for him. There are plenty of people throughout history that have done quite well for themselves without being religious. So being religious clearly isn't a requirement for a meaningful, fulfilled, good life. I think there's plenty of people throughout history that could attest to that if they could rise from the grave and speak. Okay? All right. Aldous Huxley is somebody that I admire, and he wasn't religious. He was apparently spiritual, but he didn't follow any particular faith. It's a smart guy. Okay. I think you can find smart people at every end of that bell curve. You can find dumb people that think God is non-existent. You can find super smart people that think he's not. Like, it takes all sorts. I don't know where that leaves me, but I do think, like I said a minute ago, it's a battle of pride and humility, I think, that I'm dealing with. And the number one thing that I see Catholicism having for it is the number of people that I admire and respect that are Catholics. Like, you've got the saints as these examples of how you can be. These are ways of beings that we have, in many cases, great literature, volumes and volumes, and tons of information about. It's not just there was a story about this guy 600 years ago that apparently we don't know that much about him, but he got sainted for these reasons. Okay, there are some instances of that, but there's plenty of people that we have really good detailed histories of. And then there's people like Tolkien, that is not a saint, but I think you'd be misinformed, ignorant, just plain wrong to say that he was a dumb man. He knew multiple languages. He taught at Oxford. He wrote arguably the greatest fantasy epic ever, kind of ushered in a whole genre. I don't know any fantasy writer that would say, nah, Tolkien really, like somebody that has written a swords and sorcery type story that would say, nah, Tolkien hasn't had any influence on me at all. Maybe that person exists, I suppose, but I, I don't know that it's possible for anyone to have zero influence from him. And I don't even mean, I mean like just period, because something that you saw almost certainly was influenced by him. So either directly or indirectly, if you're interested in fantasy and have worked in fantasy, you've been influenced by Tolkien. Just period. And so that kind of staying power and lasting story that has resonated with so many people means something to me. Means a lot of something to me. All of science, or much of science as we know it, can trace roots back to Catholicism. There's a great number of things that we can point to and go, like the first mechanical clocks apparently were made by monks. There's so many different things that can trace back to Catholicism, and it makes me wonder if all of humanity were to follow a particular religion, which one would be best for the longevity of humanity and people and humankind and the planet. And given the number of things that Catholics have done, both for the planet, animals, science, like so many different things. I don't know. I guess this is just another one of these video journal things that I've decided to make because it'd be interesting to see a year from now, 5 years from now, look back and watch this and go, yeah, it's interesting where I ended up from that. I don't know. I have no idea. There are people that are close to me that I don't have anyone close to me that is Catholic, but I have multiple people close to me that call themselves Christian. And I don't know that they think about this stuff in the way that I do. I mean, like, really deeply. I don't know that you need to. I don't know. There's a beauty in that bell curve thing, both on both ends of the two sides, and that's why I fear that I'm the, and I have to say fear. I mean that loosely. That I'm the midwit. I'm the ding dong that is going, well, this or that. Like I think I know better, and oh, if we have artificial general intelligence, then that can point me in the right direction, and this and that. It's like, okay, yeah, but I don't know that I'm gonna get meaning from life from AGI, if and when that even comes about. I don't know that I'm gonna get community from that. I don't know that I'm gonna get the history from that. It might be able to give me some pointers in how to be kind, and it might be able to reason with me how to overcome anger issues and how to be a better person. Okay, cool. But you could just say also very easily that that's God working through another entity. Whether you want to say it's sentient or not, it's beyond the scope of this little blog thing. I don't know. I don't know what Catholicism would have to look like for me to go, yeah, definitely. I definitely want to be a part of that. Or on the flip side, what it would have to include or entail or what have you for me to go, ooh, definitely not that. I guess I can look at other religions and go, well, I'm definitely not interested in that. Like Buddhism, the whole kind of tune in and check out. Like, I'm not for that. I'm not for Islam. I don't know. On the search goes.